Hello, everybody, and here we are again at Chapter 8 of The Magician's Nephew. And what an exciting Chapter 7 was, wasn't it? Let me just show you this picture. It'll sum it all up, won't it? Here it is. There, that's a pretty good shot of it. Can you see? Yes, you can see Jadis up there on the roof of the handsome cab with the lamppost behind her and poor old Strawberry there running as fast as he can. All right, Chapter 8, The Fight at the Lamppost. "How empress are you? We'll see about that," said a voice. And then another voice said, "3 cheers for the Empress of Kolniach," which is a suburb of London. And quite a number joined in. A flush of color came to the witch's face as she bowed ever so slightly, but then the cheers died away into roars of laughter, and she saw that they had only been making fun of her. A change came over her expression, and she changed the knife to her left hand. And then, without warning, she did something that was so dreadful to see. Lightly, easily, as if that was the easiest thing in the world, she stretched up her right arm and wrenched off the crossbar of the lamppost. If she had lost some of her magical powers in our world, she had not lost her strength. She could break an iron bar as if it was a candy stick. She tossed her new weapon up in the air, caught it again, brandished it, and urged the horse forward. "Now's my chance," thought Diggory, and he darted between the horse and the railings and began to go forward. If only the horse would stay still for a minute, he might be able to catch the witch's heel. But as he rushed, he heard a sickening crash and a thud. The witch had brought the iron bar down on the chief policeman's helmet, and the man fell down like a stone. "Quick, Diggory, this must be stopped," said a voice beside him. It was Polly, who had rushed down the minute she was allowed out of bed. "You are a brick," said Diggory. "Hold on to me tight. You'll have to manage the ring. Yellow, remember, and don't put it on until I shout." There was a second crash, and another policeman crumpled up. There came an angry roar from the crowd. "Pull her down! Get a few paving stones! Call the military!" But most of them were getting as far away as they could. But the cabbie, however, obviously the bravest as well as the kindest person present, was keeping close to the horse, dodging this way and that way to avoid the bar, but still trying to get hold of Strawberry's head. The crowd booed and bellowed again. A stone whistled over Diggory's head. Then came the voice of the witch, clear as a great bell, and sounding as if for once she was almost happy. "You scum! You shall pay dearly for this when I have conquered your world. Not one stone of your city will be left. I will make it as Charn, as Felida, as Sorlois, and as Bramandin." Diggory at last caught her ankle. She kicked back with her heel and caught him in the mouth. In his pain, he lost hold. His lip was cut and his mouth was full of blood. From somewhere very close came the voice of Uncle Andrew in a sort of trembling scream. "Madam, my dear young lady, for heaven's sake, please compose yourself." Diggory made a second grab at her heel and once again was shaken off. More men were knocked down by the iron bar. He made a third grab, caught her by the heel, and held on like grim death, shouting to Polly, "Go!" And then, oh, thank goodness, the angry, frightened faces vanished. All except Uncle Andrew's. Close beside Diggory's in the darkness, it was wailing on and on. "Oh, what is this delirium? Is this the end? I can't bear it. It's not fair. I never meant to be a magician. It's all a misunderstanding. It's all my godmother's fault. I protest against this, in my state of health, too, and from a very old Dorsetshire family." "Oh, bother," thought Diggory. "We didn't want to bring him along. What a picnic. Are you there, Polly?" "Yes, I'm here. Don't keep shoving." "I'm not," said Diggory. But before he could say anything more, their heads came out into the warm green sunshine of the wood. And as they stepped out of the pool, Polly shouted, "Oh, look, we brought the old horse with us too, and Mr. Ketterly, and the cabby. This is a pretty kettle of fish." As soon as the witch saw that she was once more in the wood, she turned pale and bent down till her face touched the mane of the horse. You could see that she felt deadly sick. Uncle Andrew was shivering, but Strawberry the horse shook his head, gave a cheerful whinny, and seemed to feel better. He became quiet for the first time since Diggory had seen him. His ears, which had been laid flat against his skull, came up into their proper position, and the fire went out of his eyes. "That's right, old boy," said the cabby, slapping Strawberry's neck. "That's better. Take it easy now." And Strawberry did the most natural thing in the world. Being very thirsty, and no wonder, he walked slowly across to the nearest pool and stepped into it to have a drink. Diggory was still holding the witch's heel, and Polly was holding Diggory's hand. One of the cabby's hands was on Strawberry, and Uncle Andrew, still very shaky, had grabbed hold of the cabby's other hand. "Quick," said Polly with a look at Diggory. "Greens!" So the horse never got his drink. Instead, the whole party found themselves sinking into darkness. Strawberry neighed, Uncle Andrew whimpered, and Diggory said, "That was a bit of luck." There was a short pause, and Polly said, "Ought we to be nearly there by now?" "Well, we do seem to be somewhere," said Diggory. "At least I'm standing on something solid." "Well, so am I, come to think of it," said Polly. "But why is it so dark? I say, do you think we got into the wrong pool?" "Perhaps this is Charn," said Diggory, "only we got back in the middle of the night." "This is not Charn," said the witch's voice. "This is an empty world. This is nothing." And it really was uncommonly like nothing. There were no stars. It was so dark that they couldn't see one another at all, and it made no difference whether you kept your eyes shut or open. Under their feet, there was a cool, flat something that might have been earth, and it was certainly not grass or wood. The air was cold and dry, and there was no wind. "My doom has come upon me," said the witch. "Oh, don't say that," babbled Uncle Andrew. "My dear young lady, pray don't say such things. It can't be as bad as all that. Cabby, my good man, do you happen to have a flask about you? A drop of brandy is what I need." Now then," came the cabby's voice, a good, firm, hearty voice. "Keep cool, everyone, that's what I say. No broken bones anywhere, anybody? Good. Well, there's something to be thankful for straight away, and more than anybody could expect after falling all that way. Now, if we've fallen down some diggings, as might be for a news station on the underground, then someone will come and get us out presently, see? And if we're dead, which I don't deny we might be, but you got to remember that worse things happen at sea, and a chap's got to die sometimes, and there ain't nothing to be afraid of if a chap's led a decent life. And if you ask me, I think the best things we could do right now to pass the time would be to sing a hymn." And he did. He began to sing at once a harvest Thanksgiving hymn, all about crops being safely gathered in. It wasn't very suitable to a place which felt as if nothing had ever grown there since the beginning of time, but it was the one that came to his mind. He had a fine voice, and the children joined in, and it was very cheering. Uncle Andrew and the witch did not join in. Toward the end of the hymn, Diggory felt someone plucking at his elbow, and from a general smell of brandy and cigars and clothes, he felt that it must be Uncle Andrew. Uncle Andrew was cautiously pulling him away from the others. When they had gone a little distance, the old man put his mouth close to Diggory's ear, so close that it tickled, and whispered, "Now, my boy, slip on your ring and let's be off." But the witch had very good ears. "Fool," came her voice, and she leaped off the horse. "Have you forgotten that I can hear men's thoughts? Let go of the boy. If you attempt treachery, I will take such vengeance on you as never was heard of in all worlds from the very beginning. And, said Diggory, if you think I'm such a mean pig as to go off and leave Polly and the cabby and the horse in a place like this, you're very well mistaken. You are a very naughty and impertinent young boy, said Uncle Andrew. Hush, said the cabby, and they all listened. In the darkness, something was happening. A voice had begun to sing. It was very far away, and Diggory found it hard to describe from what direction it was coming. Sometimes it seemed to be coming from all directions at once. Sometimes he almost thought it was coming out of the earth beneath him. Its lower notes were deep enough to be the voice of the earth itself, but there were no words. There was hardly even a tune, but it was beyond comparison the most beautiful noise he had ever heard. It was so beautiful he could hardly bear it. The horse seemed to like it too. He gave the sort of whinny a horse would give if, after years of being a cab horse, it found itself back in the old field where it had played as a foal and saw someone whom it remembered and loved coming across the field to bring it a lump of sugar. Oh, my, said the cabby, ain't this lovely? And two wonders happened at the same moment. One was that the voice was suddenly joined by other voices, more voices than you could possibly count. And they were in harmony with it, but far higher up, on a scale that was cold, tingly, and silvery. The second wonder was that the blackness overhead all at once was blazing with stars. They didn't come out gently, one by one, as they do on a summer evening. One moment there had been nothing but blackness. The next moment 1,000,000 points of light leaped out, and planets, brighter and bigger than any in our world, and single stars and constellations. There were no clouds. The new stars and the new voices began at exactly the same time. If you had seen it and heard it, as Diggory did, you would have felt quite certain it was the stars themselves that were singing, and that it was the first voice, the deep one, which had made them appear and sing. Glory be, said the cabby. I'd have been a better man all my life if I'd known there were such things as this. The voice on the earth was now louder and more triumphant, but the voices in the sky, after singing loudly with it for some time, began to get fainter. And now something else was happening. Far away and down near the horizon, the sky began to turn gray. A light wind, very fresh, began to stir. The sky in that one place grew slowly and steadily paler. You could see the shapes of hills standing out dark against it, and all the time the voice went on singing. Here's what they could see. There was soon light enough for them to see one another's faces. The cabby and the two children had open mouths and shining eyes and were drinking in the sound, and they looked as if it reminded them of something. Uncle Andrew's mouth was open too, but not open with joy. He looked more as if his chin had suddenly dropped off the rest of his face. His shoulders were stooped and his knees shook. He was not liking this voice. If he could have gotten away from it by creeping into a rat's hole, he would have done so. But the witch looked as in a way as if she understood the music better than any of them. Her mouth was shut, her lips were pressed together, and her fists were clenched. Ever since the song began, she had felt that this whole world was filled with a magic different from hers and stronger. She hated it. She would have smashed the whole world, or all the worlds, to pieces if she could only stop that singing. The horse stood with its ears well forward and twitching. Every now and then it snorted and stamped the ground. It no longer looked like a tired old cab horse. You could now well believe that its fathers had been in battles. The eastern sky changed from white to pink and from pink to gold. The voice rose and rose till all the air was shaking with it. And just as it swelled to its mightiest and most glorious sound, the sun arose. Diggory had never seen such a sun. The sun above the ruins of Charn had looked older than ours. This one looked younger. You could imagine that it laughed for joy as it came up. And as its beams shot across the land, the travelers could see, for the first time, what sort of place they were in. It was a valley through which a broad, swift river wound its way, flowing eastward toward the sun. Southward there were mountains. Northward there were lower hills. But it was a valley of mere earth, rock, and water. There was not a tree, or a bush, or a blade of grass to be seen. The earth was of many colors. They were fresh and hot and vivid. They made you feel excited until you saw the singer himself. And then you forgot everything else. It was a lion. Huge, shaggy, and bright. It stood facing the rising sun. Its mouth was wide open in song, and it was about 300 yards away. "This is a terrible world," said the witch. "We must fly away at once. Prepare the magic." "I quite agree with you, madam," said Uncle Andrew. "A most disagreeable place, completely uncivilized. If I were a younger man and had a gun—" "Go on," said the cabbie. "You don't think you could shoot him, do you?" "And who would?" said Polly. "Prepare the magic, you old fool," said Jadis. "Certainly, madam," said Uncle Andrew cunningly. "I must have both the children touching me. Put on your homeward ring at once, Diggory." He wanted to get away without the witch. "Oh, it's rings, is it?" said Jadis. She would have had her hands in Diggory's pocket before you could say knife, but Diggory grabbed Polly and shouted out, "Take care. If either of you comes within half an inch nearer, we two will vanish and you will be left here for good. Yes, I have a ring in my pocket that will take Polly and me home. And look, my hand is just ready, so keep your distance. I'm sorry about you," he said to the cabbie, "and about the horse, but I can't help that. And as for you two," he said at Uncle Andrew and the Queen, "you are both magicians, so you probably enjoy living together." "Oh, hold your noise, everyone," said the cabbie. "I want to listen to the music." For now the song had changed. And we'll find out in chapter 9 what it's changed to. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next time.